One of the voices of Caps hockey is John Walton. You hear him on 106.7 The Fan all season long. Kind enough to kick off his offseason with us to look back. So, John, why don't we begin with T.J. Oshie on locker cleanout day yesterday? He did not say the word retirement. He essentially said he'll never say the word retirement. But I came away from that thinking maybe we've seen him play his final game. What do you think?
I think it was pretty emotional to hear him talk. And I think with all that was said and all of the things that would have to happen to see him play again, it doesn't sound good. I'm with you. I was standing there when he said it. And, you know, he's a gamer. He's a warrior. He's a guy that brings everybody into the fight. And when he was giving some of the details on what his life is like when he's trying to play and get himself into the lineup, like we've heard guys through the course of the season say, oh, you guys, you can't believe what TJ has to do, but it was never really met with a level of detail. Like when he said that he couldn't get off the floor to go to the bathroom and was using water bottles like that you would, I mean, I just can't even believe some of the stuff that he's got to do. You can't get off the floor. You can't pick up your kids. You know, it doesn't sound good. And if this is it, and I sure hope it isn't, but if it is, it will go down as the greatest trade Brian McClellan ever made. To be able to bring in him from St. Louis, they don't win the Cup in 18 without him. He was the glue that held those guys together during that run. Inspiring in so many different ways. I hope it isn't, but I'm with you, Grant. It didn't sound very good.
John, given the season in totality for Ovechkin, right, with just over 30 goals, you'd go, okay, he's 41 shy of Gretzky, probably not next year, right? But given the run he had in the second half and his historical, ridiculousness, quite frankly, and how the aging curve doesn't seem to bother him and how incredible he's been at times responding to down years by his standards, do you think he ties or exceeds Gretzky next year?
I don't know that he does it next year. I kind of feel like it would be the following. I think 42 is a lot. You know, you talk about what happened in the second half, and yeah, he really did seem to get some of that puck luck that he wasn't getting, and he was able to get better looks and get more pucks through than he did in the first couple of months of the season. But I got to say, he really struggled in the playoffs too. And I think in watching how that went down where he doesn't get a point, and it just looked like he was really struggling. Now, look, I mean, that doesn't mean that there weren't other things in play, like injuries or whatever, but it really seemed like it was a struggle. I think, when you get into the off season, and I think, with a summer of training and getting back to what you want to do come September. I mean, he's going to be 39 by the time we get back together at training camp, and that's difficult. I mean, you look at what Gretzky did at that age, the answer's not much. A guy like Brett Hull, who had 86 one year, and by the time he was at Detroit at the end, I mean, you were lucky to see 20. So it is difficult. But I think that when you look at the shot that he has and what he wants to be able to do and do it in a Washington uniform, and I'm with you, if it's the second half of the season and the puck luck goes his way, look, he's good. He can get close. I don't know that he can get 42, but I think he's going to be in the hunt. He's going to have 1 year on the backside of it that you're not going to need a whole lot more to get there. And boy, I sure hope it happens.
You and me both. No points in 4 games. I've never quite seen him minimized to that extent. Some of it's just got to be age and fatigue and whatever else. But he also, there was a point where he played, I think it was 15, 16 minutes in that final game and had 1 hit. That to me is almost more stunning. It's one thing to not score or to, have some bad luck or what have you offensively. But that's just kind of a, did you go out there and hit people or not? And I know those stats are a little wonky, but it really was I don't know. I just never thought I would see 4 games in the playoffs look like that statistically for Ovi.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, something that Spencer Carberry said yesterday on Breakdown Day, which I think could be specifically pointed to not only Alex, but a lot of guys. They came down the stretch in a position from the trade deadline forward where they were playing playoff hockey essentially for 2 months. And Alex did produce at a very high level during that time. So what did these guys have left in the tank by the time they got to game 1? It took until 2 minutes left in game 82 to even get in. And everything was a close game, and everything was hanging in the balance seemingly of those last few weeks. And there was emotional highs and lows, and losing to Buffalo twice down the stretch in April, and you're like, well, listen, this isn't going to happen. And then, well, it is going to happen because they won the last three. So I think part of it is they just played so many meaningful games down the stretch, so many close games. This is not a team that's blessed with speed. That's one of the things they really need to try and rectify in the offseason. They need more in the top six in terms of offense too. But for what they had, this group gave it everything they had. And you do wonder, at least I do, what you had left to give when you got to the Rangers series from Charlie Lindgren on out. Charlie played almost every game. The defense, John Carlson was playing more than 30 minutes some nights and was pretty close to 30 just about every night with all the injuries they had. So what do they have left in the tank? I think you can probably point that a lot of different directions, and I think maybe with a more understandable lens on how they were in games, but they just weren't quite enough to come up with a win against the Rangers.
John, thank you as always, buddy. Talk soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.